I stand before you today with one unmistakable message about Operation Epic Fury. America is winning, decisively, devastatingly, and without mercy.
For the first time in history, Iranian officials say the country has closed the Strait of Hormuz following joint strikes from the U.S. and Israel.
Now we're some 36 hours into this, and a retaliation from Iran is underway at this moment as they threaten the biggest waves yet attack on Israel and U.S. military bases.
At 4:37 local time, a single Harpoon anti-ship missile drops from beneath the wing of an F divided by a -18F Super Hornet cruising at 28,000 feet over the Gulf of Oman and ignites its turbojet sustainer engine. The missile dips toward the surface, levels off at 15 feet above the waterline, and accelerates to 537 miles per hour on a bearing of 310. Its target is the IRIS Dena, an Iranian Mauj-class frigate displacing 1,500 tons, currently making 14 knots through a narrow corridor 22 miles southeast of the Strait of Hormuz. The Harpoon cost the United States Navy $1.8 million. The Dena cost Iran somewhere north of $200 million and took nearly a decade to build. In 47 seconds, that math is going to matter a great deal. But the Dena is not alone this morning. Spread across 140 nautical miles of water from Bandar Abbas to the eastern mouth of the strait, the Islamic Republic of Iran Navy and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy have deployed 43 surface combatants in the most aggressive formation either fleet has attempted since the late 1980s. The force includes 3 frigates, 7 corvettes, 11 fast attack missile boats carrying Chinese-derived C-802 anti-ship missiles, and 22 fast inshore attack craft, the kind of small fiberglass boats packed with rockets and machine guns that IRGC commanders have been promising for decades would swarm any American carrier group foolish enough to enter the Persian Gulf. Iran's plan, at least on paper, is to shut the Strait of Hormuz. Completely. No oil moves. No container ships transit. 21% of the world's daily petroleum supply simply stops until Washington agrees to whatever demand Tehran has placed on the table this week. The plan is not stupid. It accounts for American air superiority by dispersing assets behind islands and inside commercial shipping lanes where targeting becomes legally and tactically complicated. It uses geography, specifically the narrowest point of the strait at 21 nautical miles wide, to compress the engagement zone and neutralize the standoff range advantage of American weapons. And it relies on numbers. The United States Navy cannot put a $2 billion destroyer on every Iranian missile boat simultaneously. The math, Iran's leadership believes, favors the side willing to lose more. They are not wrong about the math. They are catastrophically wrong about what happens when the shooting starts. 12 nautical miles southwest of the Dena, the USS Bataan Amphibious Ready Group is transiting eastbound toward the strait. The Bataan carries a Marine Expeditionary Unit, but this morning the ship that matters is its escort, the guided missile destroyer USS Carney, a flight IIA Arleigh Burke carrying 96 vertical launch cells. Beside the Carney sits the guided missile cruiser USS Gettysburg, another 122 cells. Between the two ships, 218 missiles are loaded and ready, a mixture of SM-2 standard surface-to-air interceptors, SM-6 dual-purpose missiles capable of engaging both aircraft and surface ships at ranges exceeding 250 nautical miles, Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles, and a complement of evolved Sea Sparrow missiles tucked into quad-pack cells for close-in defense. 90 nautical miles further south, the aircraft carrier USS Dwight D. Eisenhower is turning into the wind. Carrier Air Wing 3 is cycling aircraft. 2 E-2D Advanced Hawkeys, the Navy's airborne early warning aircraft with radar dishes that can track targets 350 nautical miles away and simultaneously manage an entire air war, have been airborne since 0300. They have been watching the Iranian formation assemble for 4 hours. They have counted every boat. They have assigned track numbers to each one. And they have been feeding that data to every American ship and aircraft in the theater through the Cooperative Engagement Capability Network, a system that lets any ship fire on a target that any other sensor in the network can see, even if the firing ship's own radar has never detected it. What the commander of the Iranian surface group did not know was that the moment his lead frigate cleared the 12 nautical mile territorial water boundary at 0411, the Eisenhower's battle group had already classified the entire 43-ship formation as hostile and assigned individual firing solutions to 38 of them. The remaining 5 were too close to commercial tankers to engage without risking civilian casualties. Those 5 had been allocated to the helicopters. 300 nautical miles to the southwest, at Combined Air Operations Center Al-Udeid in Qatar, the air tasking order has already been updated twice since midnight. 12F divided by a -18E Super Hornets from Strike Fighter Squadron 86 are airborne in 2 groups of 6, each aircraft carrying 2 Harpoon anti-ship missiles and 2 joint standoff weapons. 8 more are on alert 5 on the Eisenhower's flight deck, pilots strapped in, engines turning. 2 EA-18G Growlers from Electronic Attack Squadron 130 are already jamming Iranian coastal radar sites along the strait. The Iranian commanders on the surface can still communicate with each other by radio, and they can still see the American ships on their navigation radar, but the integrated air defense picture they depend on, the one that tells them where the aircraft are, went dark 6 minutes ago. They are fighting the ocean equivalent of a boxing match with one eye swollen shut. The Harpoon fired at 0437 strikes the IRIS Dena amidships at 0438 and 24 seconds. The 488-pound blast fragmentation warhead detonates inside the engine room. The Dena does not sink immediately. She loses all propulsion, begins flooding through the hull breach, and develops a 15-degree list to starboard within 90 seconds. Her crew begins damage control, but the ship's Fajr-27 close-in weapon system never activates. The Growlers saw to that. The engagement cost the United States one missile worth $1.8 million to functionally destroy a warship Iran cannot replace for a decade. Somewhere in a defense contractor's office, someone is going to use that ratio in a slide deck for years. The loss of the Dena triggers exactly what Iran's war planners hoped would never happen before their own missiles were in the air. It forces the remaining 42 vessels to react. And reacting means moving. And moving means breaking the careful concealment positions behind islands and inside shipping lanes that were the only thing keeping them alive. 6 nautical miles northeast of Greater Tunb Island, the first group of IRGC fast attack boats makes its move. 11 small craft, each capable of 45 knots, come screaming out from behind the island's western shoreline in a spread formation. They are heading directly for the Bataan group at a closing speed of nearly 70 knots when combined with the American ship's own movement. Each boat carries either a pair of Nosser-1 anti-ship missiles with a range of 22 miles or a rack of 107mm rockets and a Daesh-K heavy machine gun. The plan is simple and it is violent. Get within 20 miles, salvo the Nossers, then close to gun range and make the Americans choose between engaging small targets and defending against the missiles simultaneously. It is, in isolation, a reasonable tactic. The United States Navy spent considerable time after the 2000 attack on the USS Cole studying exactly this scenario. They spent $48 billion on the answer. The Carney's AN/SPY-1D radar picks up the swarm at 31 nautical miles. At 28 nautical miles, the fire control system is tracking all 11 boats simultaneously. At 26 nautical miles, the Carney fires its first SM-6 in surface mode. The SM-6 was designed primarily as a long-range air defense missile. It costs $4.8 million per round. Using it against a fiberglass speedboat worth maybe $400,000 is like calling in a Formula One pit crew to change a bicycle tire. But the SM-6 can reach out and kill a surface target at ranges where the target has no idea it is being engaged. And this morning, range is time, and time is the one thing the Carney is buying for the rest of the formation. The first SM-6 hits the lead IRGC boat at 24 nautical miles. The blast fragmentation warhead, designed to shred a supersonic cruise missile, does not leave debris large enough to identify. The second SM-6 arrives 4 seconds later. A third, 3 seconds after that. 3 boats gone in under 12 seconds, and the remaining 8 still have 20 miles to cover before their Nosser missiles are in range. They do not make it. The Gettysburg opens fire with SM-2 standards at 18 nautical miles, and the Carney's forward 5-inch gun, a Mark 45 Mod 4 capable of firing 20 rounds per minute at targets 13 nautical miles away, begins dropping GPS-guided Excalibur rounds among the spread formation at 14 nautical miles. Each Excalibur round costs $68,000 and lands within 5 meters of its program coordinates. Against boats making 45 knots in relatively straight pursuit courses, the math works out poorly for the boats. 8 of the 11 boats are destroyed in 4 minutes and 40 seconds. The remaining 3 turn and attempt to retreat behind Greater Tunb. 2 make it. The third takes a 5-inch high explosive round to the engine block at 9 nautical miles and drifts, burning, in the shipping lane. 40 miles to the north, the second phase of Iran's plan is supposed to begin now. The 3 Sina-class corvettes positioned in a line abreast south of Keshem Island are meant to launch a coordinated salvo of C-802 anti-ship missiles, 12 total, timed to arrive at the Bataan group simultaneously with the IRGC swarm attack. The idea is to saturate the American air defenses by forcing them to deal with both fast boats at close range and cruise missiles inbound from a different bearing. It is a genuine 2-axis attack, and against a less capable opponent, or even against this opponent 25 years ago, it might have worked. But the corvettes have a problem. They need their targeting radar active to guide the C-802s during their terminal phase, and the moment any of them lights off a HUDA fire control radar, the E-18G Growlers orbiting at 33,000 feet will have a precise fix on that emitter within 1.2 seconds. The corvette captains know this. They have been briefed on the Growlers. They have been told to accept the risk and fire anyway. The lead corvette, the IRIS Dena, activates its targeting radar at 0444. Within 3 seconds, the Growler has the emitter location plotted to within 15 meters. Within 8 seconds, the Growler has transmitted that location to a Super Hornet 40 miles to the south carrying a JSOW, a joint standoff weapon, essentially a 1,000-pound GPS-guided glide bomb with a range of 70 nautical miles. The Super Hornet pilot releases the JSOW. It will take 94 seconds to arrive. The Bayanda fires 4 C-802s in rapid sequence. Each missile weighs 1,600 pounds, flies at 20 feet above the water at 650 miles per hour, and carries a 363-pound semi-armor-piercing warhead. They are credible weapons. The Chinese versions of this missile have been exported to over a dozen countries. The second corvette, the IRIS Dena, fires 4 more. The third corvette fires its 4 before the Bayanda's first missile has traveled 6 miles. 12 C-802 antiship missiles are now inbound toward the Bataan Group from the north. The IRGC Swarm, or what remains of it, attacked from the east. The Kearney and Gettysburg are now defending against a 2-axis threat with a total of 12 cruise missiles and 2 surviving fast boats still somewhere behind Greater Tunb Island. The Kearney's Combat Information Center has 14 operators, each staring at a screen that is tracking multiple objects simultaneously. The Cooperative Engagement Capability Network is feeding them data from the E-2D Hawkeys, from the Eisenhower Zone SPY-6 radar 90 miles away, and from the Gettysburg next to them. The 12 inbound C-802s appear as hostile tracks the instant they launch. The system assigns SM-2 Block IRIB interceptors to the first 8 and Q's evolved Sea Sparrow missiles for the remaining 4 as backup. The first SM-2 intercepts a C-802 at 11 nautical miles from the Bataan. The warhead detonates close enough to shred the missile's guidance fins, and it tumbles into the water trailing fire. A second C-802 goes down at 9 miles. A third at 8. The fourth and fifth C-802s are destroyed almost simultaneously at 6 nautical miles by SM-2s fired from the Gettysburg. The sixth and seventh fall to evolved Sea Sparrows at 3 nautical miles. The eighth is hit by the Kearney's Phalanx CIWS, a 20mm Gatling gun that fires 75 rounds per second and is the last line of defense before impact. It chews the C-802 apart at 1,900 yards from the Kearney's hull, close enough that crew members on the weather decks can see the debris shower. 4 C-802s were destroyed by electronic countermeasures before reaching the engagement zone. The Growlers had spoofed their radar seekers, convincing the missiles that the ocean 3 miles to the left of the Bataan Group was actually a very large American warship. The C-802s obediently dove into empty water. 12 for 12. Not a single missile leaks through. The JSOW arrives at the Bayanda's coordinates 94 seconds after release. The corvette has not moved far enough. The 1,000-pound warhead detonates 4 meters off the port beam. The Bayanda breaks apart. 2 more JSOWs are already in the air, 1 for each of the remaining corvettes. The Nadi attempts evasive maneuvers, but at 25 knots in a 1,100-ton corvette, evasive is a generous word. The third corvette, the IRIS Dena, tries to make it back into the shallow water near Keshem Island. It gets within 2 nautical miles of the coast before a harpoon, fired from a Super Hornet that has been orbiting patiently at 22,000 feet, catches it broadside. 3 corvettes. Gone in under 9 minutes. Combined replacement cost to the Iranian Navy, approximately $600 million. The weapons that destroyed them cost $11.2 million total. Iran's Navy is learning a lesson that every Navy learns eventually. Building ships is expensive. Sinking them is not. 35 nautical miles east of Bandar Abbas, the IRGC's main surface strike group is attempting something genuinely ambitious. 7 Thunder-class missile boats, each armed with 2 C-802 missiles, are running at 32 knots in a staggered column behind a large commercial container ship transiting the traffic separation scheme. They are using the container ship's radar return and physical bulk to mask their own signatures. An American Rules of Engagement manual says you cannot fire into a commercial vessel. The IRGC knows this. They are betting their survival on it. And for about 11 minutes, it works. The E-2D operators can see intermittent radar returns flickering around the container ship, but they cannot positively identify and separate combat targets from the merchant vessel's signature with enough certainty to authorize weapons release. The 7 missile boats cover 6 nautical miles in those 11 minutes, creeping closer to a firing position on the Bataan Group. Then the container ship begins a routine course alteration to follow the traffic separation scheme, and for 40 seconds, the 7 Thunders are exposed on the open water behind it, separated by 800 meters. 40 seconds is an eternity. The E-2D classifies all 7 within 6 seconds. Firing solutions are transmitted to the Eisenhower's air wing within 4 more. 2 Super Hornets roll in from 26,000 feet. Each drops a JSOW. 2 more harpoons launch from aircraft 50 miles away. The Kearney, now in range, fires 3 SM-6 in surface mode because the missiles are available and because at $4.8 million each they are still cheaper than letting a single C-802 hit an American ship. The Thunders try to scatter. 2 manage to launch their C-802s before being hit. Those missiles are immediately engaged by the Gettysburg. Both are destroyed at range. The 7 boats are reduced to burning wreckage in under 3 minutes. One crew is observed abandoning their vessel before the JSOW arrives. The others do not have time. At 0519 local time, everything arrives at once. The remnants of the Iranian surface formation, aware now that concealment has failed and coordinated attack has failed, attempt the only option left. 16 remaining fast inshore attack craft launch simultaneously from 3 positions along the Iranian coastline, sprinting at maximum speed toward the narrowest point of the strait. Their orders are no longer to engage warships. Their orders are to lay mines. Each boat carries 2 EM-52 rising mines, a Chinese-designed weapon that sits on the seabed and launches a rocket-propelled projectile upward into the hull of any vessel passing overhead. 3 mines in the shipping channel would shut the strait for weeks while minesweepers clear the area. 110 miles south, the Eisenhower launches its Alert 5 aircraft. 8 Super Hornets are airborne in 6 minutes. But the strait is 21 nautical miles wide at its narrowest point, and 16 boats moving at 40 knots can cover a lot of water in the time it takes a fighter to fly 110 miles. This is the moment the MH-60R Seahawk helicopters earn their place in history. 4 Seahawks from Helicopter Maritime Strike Squadron 74, already airborne on anti-submarine patrol, pivot north. Each carries 8 AGM-114 Hellfire missiles and a crew that has spent 7 months in this theater identifying exactly these kinds of boats. The Hellfire costs $117,000 per missile. Against a fiberglass boat moving at 40 knots, it is precise, lethal, and in this context, economical. The first Seahawk engages at 0521, destroying 2 boats at a range of 5 miles with 2 Hellfires. The second Seahawk takes 3 boats in 90 seconds. The third accounts for 2 more. The Carney's 5-inch gun, now within range of the narrowest section, begins firing on the boats closest to the shipping lane. Excalibur rounds drop among them with the unhurried precision of a weapons system that has all the information it needs and all the time in the world. 11 of the 16 mine-laying boats are destroyed before deploying a single mine. 3 more are hit after releasing their mines but before reaching safe distance, and their mines are tracked by the E-2D and marked for the minesweeping helicopters that will follow. 2 boats make it back to Iranian territorial waters. By 0548 local time, the Strait of Hormuz is functionally secure. Of the 43 Iranian vessels that sortied from Bandar Abbas and the surrounding bases, 41 have been sunk, disabled, or driven ashore. The IRIS Dena is still afloat but listing at 30 degrees and being abandoned by her crew. The Bayanda, Nadi, and Homze are gone. 11 IRGC swarm boats are debris. 7 Thunder missile boats are burning. 16 mine-laying craft have been shredded across 15 nautical miles of water. American losses: 0 ships damaged, 0 aircraft lost. 1 Seahawk helicopter took a 14.5mm round through its tail section from a Dishake gunner on one of the fast boats and landed safely aboard the Bataan with no crew injuries. The United States expended approximately $312 million in munitions to destroy a naval force. Iran spent over $2.8 billion assembling over 15 years. The entire engagement lasted 71 minutes. Iran set out to close the Strait of Hormuz. At the end of an hour and 11 minutes, the strait was more open than it had been in months, because every vessel Iran had positioned to threaten it was on fire, sinking, or running home. The IRGC learned that swarming works in PowerPoint presentations and fails in the electromagnetic environment of a carrier strike group that can see, track, and kill every boat on the water simultaneously. The Iranian Navy learned that a frigate built over a decade of sanctions-era ingenuity survives exactly 1 Harpoon missile. And the global oil market learned that the price of attempting to close 21 nautical miles of water is the entire surface fleet of the nation that tried it. Iran took its best shot. It lasted 1 hour. The strait did not close for a single minute. If you enjoyed this video, check out our other video on how the US Navy destroyed Iran's entire air force in 72 hours. Bye for now.